You ever walk into a place and feel the air just shift? Like the whole room's holding its breath, waiting for something to happen? That's what it was like the first time I saw Ethan Caldwell walk into the Gilded Oak, this swanky Manhattan restaurant where I was barely keeping my head above water as a new waitress. My name's Sarah Bennett, and let me tell you, this isn't just about some rich jerk throwing his weight around. It's about the day I decided I wasn't gonna let him break me, and how that changed everything. Picture this. The Gilded Oak is the kind of place where the wine bottles cost more than my rent, and the napkins probably have a higher thread count than my bedsheets. I wasn't supposed to be there. Not really. I was a law school dropout, one semester shy of a degree, pouring my life savings into my little sister Ellie's hospital bills. Cancer's a beast, and it doesn't care about your dreams. So, there I was, trading torts and case law for tray balancing and fake smiles, trying to keep it together in a world that smelled like money and privilege. The staff had this unspoken rule: stay invisible, keep your mouth shut, and pray you don't screw up. Especially when Ethan Caldwell walked in. Ethan wasn't just rich, was the kind of guy who could tank a company with a text or ruin your life with a glance. The man owned half the block, and the way the manager, Mr. Laurent, practically bowed when he showed up, you'd think he was royalty. Ethan had this aura, cold, sharp, like a blade you didn't see coming. His suits were tailored to perfection, his eyes this piercing gray that made you feel like he'd already judged you and found you wanting. First night I saw him, he was at table 1, this private alcove overlooking Central Park, and the whole place went quiet, like we were all waiting for a bomb to go off. He didn't even look at the menu before firing off an order: grilled swordfish, no lemon reduction, risotto with 0 saffron, and a bottle of 09 Chateau Lafite Rothschild. Then he leaned back, scrolling his phone, and added, "If I taste saffron, your chef's out of a job." I was shaking, notepad in hand, trying to keep up. Mr. Laurent was hovering like a nervous vulture, whispering, "Sarah, don't mess this up. Not just a customer. He owns us." I got the order in, triple-checked it with the kitchen, and when I brought out that stupidly expensive wine, Ethan barely glanced at it. He swirled the glass, took a sip, and then fixed those gray eyes on me. "This isn't the 09, he said, voice like ice. "This is the 10. You think I can't tell the difference?" My heart sank. I knew it was the right bottle. I'd checked the label myself, practically memorized the damn eagle crest on it. Protocol said to apologize, take it back, grovel. But something in me just snapped. I'd spent a year fighting insurance companies, watching Ellie suffer, and this guy thought he could humiliate me over a bottle of wine? "With all due respect, Mr. Caldwell," I said, keeping my voice steady. "I pulled that bottle from the cellar myself. It's the 09. The 10 has a slightly darker label, and the vintage notes mention brighter acidity, which you'd notice if you let it breathe." The room froze. Mr. Laurent looked like he was going to pass out. Ethan's eyes narrowed, and for a second, I thought I was done for. Then he smirked just a flicker, like I'd surprised him. "We'll see," he said, waving me off. I walked away, legs like jelly, feeling his stare on my back. The kitchen was a war zone, the chef cursing in Italian, setting a timer for the risotto like it was a surgical procedure. But I'd done it. I'd called his bluff and lived. That night, Ethan left a tip bigger than my paycheck, with a note scrawled in sharp handwriting. For Sarah. It wasn't gratitude, it felt like a challenge, like he was marking me as his next project. And that's when it started. He came back, again and again, always asking for me. He'd quiz me on the origin of some obscure cheese, or demand a wine pairing for a dish that didn't even exist. It was a game, a test to see if I'd crack. I didn't. I spent my nights at the library, not reading law books, but studying wine regions and French cooking techniques. I wasn't just surviving his tests, I was acing them. But it wasn't about winning. It was about Ellie, about keeping her alive, about proving I could handle anything for her. Then came the night that changed everything. Ethan was hosting these big-shot investors from Tokyo, and the air was thick with tension. The main event? A dish so rare it was basically illegal. Ortolan, this tiny bird you eat whole, napkin over your head to hide the shame or trap the aroma, depending who you ask. He called me over, right in front of these guys, and said, "Sarah, explain the significance of this dish. I'm sure your research has prepared you." It was a trap, plain and simple. One wrong word, and I'd make him look like a fool. tanking his billion-dollar deal. My stomach churned, but I thought of Ellie, of the hospital bills piling up, and I stepped up. "Gentlemen," I said, channeling every mock trial I'd ever done. "The ortolan isn't just food, it's a ritual, a piece of history. In Gascony, they say the napkin hides your sin from God, or maybe it traps the brandy-soaked aroma for you alone. But there's another angle. It's a moment to face yourself, to question what power really means consuming something so delicate, just because you can." The investors were hooked, nodding like I was some culinary philosopher. Ethan didn't move, but I saw it in his eyes: surprise, maybe even respect. The deal closed, and the older investor raised a glass, saying, "Mr. Caldwell, your greatest asset isn't your company, it's her." I should have felt proud, but I felt used, like a prop in his power play. That's when it all boiled over. Ellie's condition took a turn: emergency surgery, a deposit I couldn't afford. I begged Mr. Laurent for an advance, but he brushed me off, saying Ethan's board dinner was too important. I was done. I marched into that private dining room, past the shocked faces of New York's elite, and looked Ethan dead in the eye. "You want to know what it's like to be me?" I said, voice shaking. "I'm here, serving your fancy birds and $1,000 wines, while my sister's fighting for her life in a hospital bed. You play your games, digging into my life, using me for your deals, but I'm not your pawn. I'm a person, and I'm fighting for something real." The room was dead silent. Ethan's face was unreadable, like a storm about to break. I turned to leave, thinking I'd just thrown away everything. "Wait," he said, voice low. He dismissed the board, and when we were alone, he looked broken. "Why didn't you tell me?" he asked. I laughed, bitter. "Tell you? The guy who gets off on breaking people?" He flinched, then told me about his grandmother, Eleanor, who built his empire with grit and heart. He'd lost her, lost his way, built walls to protect her legacy after a betrayal nearly destroyed everything. "I saw your strength," he said, "and I wanted to test it, to see how far it went. I was wrong. It was raw, real, like seeing the man behind the mask for the first time." He didn't just apologize. He drove me to the hospital, paid Ellie's bills without blinking, and sat with me through the night. Two strangers sharing shitty coffee in a waiting room. By morning, Ellie was stable, and something between us had shifted. Weeks later, he offered me a job running a foundation to help families like mine, a chance to reclaim my legal dreams. It wasn't a fairy tale, it was a partnership built on respect, on seeing each other as people, not players in a game. Looking back, it's wild to think one moment, one bottle of wine could unravel so much. Ethan wasn't a villain, just a guy trapped by his own walls, same as me. We both learned something. Strength isn't about being untouchable, it's about being real, even when it hurts. So what do you think? Was Ethan redeemable, or was he just buying his way out of guilt? Drop a comment, share your decay, want to hear how you'd handle a guy like that. And if this story hit you, give it a like, share it with someone who needs a reminder to keep fighting, and hit subscribe for more real talk about the battles that shape us.